Dozens of rockets have been fired into northern Israel in the last few hours, most of them falling in open areas. This follows Israel's most intense airstrikes on Lebanon in nearly a year of conflict against the militant group. Those strikes coming just as UN peacekeepers in Lebanon call for immediate de-escalation as tensions rise along the country's border with Israel. The call echoing a warning issued by the United States. Washington has cautioned all parties in the Middle East against escalation. The State Department also says Washington's priority is to find a diplomatic solution to this conflict.
It has been a dangerous situation, and the risk of escalation has been high. And there have been a number of points where the risk of escalation has been especially high, and that risk has receded, never gone away, but receded. And so we will continue to push to try to calm tensions, to try to urge all parties to de-escalate, and try to get to a place eventually where we can push for a diplomatic resolution.
Israeli soldiers have been preparing a new artillery position in the Israel-controlled Golan Heights as Hezbollah's leader vows to keep up daily strikes. Ignited by the Gaza war, relations between the two countries have been strained significantly this week. Hezbollah suffered an unprecedented attack in which pages and walkie-talkies used by its members exploded, killing close to 40 people and injuring thousands. How or when the pages were weaponized and remotely detonated is still under investigation. The pages have been traced to Taiwanese company Gold Apollo, which denied making these devices. The island's economy minister also saying components used in those pages were not made on the island. On the ground, footage of Israeli soldiers pushing what seems to be a dead body off a roof during a raid in the occupied West Bank has been described by the army as, quote, a serious incident. The Palestinian Health Ministry says Israel's large-scale raids in that area, which began August, have left dozens dead. We're joined by Sarah Coates, reporting live from Tel Aviv. Sarah, Israeli forces preparing near the border with Lebanon. Is this a sign of a wider assault on Hezbollah likely to come very soon?
Hello there, Wei Su. Well, certainly the situation is extremely dangerous. What we're seeing on the ground is a military looking like it's moving this main front from Gaza to the north. There's been troops redeployed to that northern region. Also, we need to remember what we heard from the Defence Minister, Yoav Gallant. He said we're entering a new phase. Well, just a few hours ago, the commander of the Israeli reserves came out to say it's time for the Lebanese to suffer as well. The power plants, bridges, airports and seaports. Now, over these past couple of hours, as you mentioned, Wei Su, red alert sirens have been ringing out in these largely evacuated northern communities, with the IDF reissuing these instructions for residents who do remain there to stay very, very close to shelter, to limit gatherings and also to avoid main roads. So once again, this is an extremely dangerous time. Israeli warplanes are continuing to strike what they're calling Hezbollah infrastructure, Hezbollah rocket launchers in southern Lebanon. And we heard from the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, yesterday, coming out, making that public address, saying that there will be retaliation, although at this hour it remains unclear as to what that will look like and when it will happen.
Sarah, this movement of the front of war and the redeployment that you also mentioned, how has Israel justified this offensive, this movement in its offensive on Lebanon?
It was about a week ago when the Israeli establishment announced this expansion of these war goals to include returning these displaced residents of Israel's north back home. We do need to remember there are some 60,000 internally displaced people, and they have not been able to go home for almost a year. They've been extremely angry. They've been calling on the government to do more. Basically, what they want is the security situation in that northern region to be restored. So really this troop build-up that we're potentially seeing on this northern border, and also what we're hearing from defence personnel, is serving as a warning for Hezbollah to cease these hostilities, to push back further north. This is something I think you could say, Wei Su, that people have been preparing for months. It's an area that's now been at war for almost a year. So what we're also seeing on the ground on both sides of this border in Lebanon and also here in Israel is hospitals prepping for mass casualty events. And the hospitals in Israel, I've actually visited a few of these. They have underground bunkers. They've been storing blood. So certainly there is a lot of preparedness here on the ground. And while Israel does have superior military capabilities, what we do need to remember is also just how battle-hardened these Hezbollah fighters are. They're also very heavily armed, thought to have around 150,000 long-range rockets that could reach anywhere in Israel.
Thanks for that. Sarah Courts reporting live to us there from Tel Aviv.